Aloha again. So in this program, we are actually going to use functions with arrays. Now, the one thing you have to remember, functions cannot return a value of type array. Meaning what? When we used to return a function, we used to go define a function up here and says this function is going to be return, let's say a decimal value, we said double, and we give the function name. We go, this function name is getData, and whatever we need to send, like whatever variable we need to send. If you have an array, you can't say this function is going to return an array to me. Oh, there's an array. You can't. So returning an array is not allowed in a function. So how are we going to do that? I'll come back to this. Or maybe I'll use that one. So let's take an example. Let's say we in the lab and we're measuring the distance traveled every 10 seconds. At 0 seconds, you are at 0 distance. At 10 seconds, you are 18 meters away. At 20 seconds, you are 27 meters. At 30 seconds. So every 10 seconds, we measure the distance traveled. And now we need to calculate the average speed as you go from 0 to 10 seconds, from 10 seconds to 20 seconds, from 20 to 30. We need to find the average speed for each one of these, which is really the distance divided by the time. We also need to figure out which interval has the maximum average speed and which one has the minimum average speed. So that's the plan for this one, and to practice with functions. So I'll be using a lot of functions. So let's begin. Let's do I/O manipulation here. Pound include I/O manip. And let's say I only have like 6 values. So I'll make that a constant. Integer size equals 6. And notice that's defined up there on the top. That means they all have access to it. All the function will know what size is. I don't have to send that anywhere. So my first function, we said getData. And what I'm going to do, because the time is an integer value, it's like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. That's an integer number. The distance could be a decimal value. You could travel 15.6 meters. So here what I'm going to do is my getData is going to have an integer. Well, the first one is integer. What should we call that? You know what? I'll think how I'm going to do it. It's going to be a double. That's that distance travel. So I'm going to call double. It's a distance. And this is an array. I don't know if I need anything else. Oh, I don't know what happened here. Double distance, that should be, okay. So the name of the function is getData, and this function is going to have an array that's going to have the distance traveled for each one of them. So let's talk about that getData. Now, I'm trying to think here what I want to do with it. Let's go to my main program. And let's define double. I'm going to give this one the name D here just to show you something here. That's a D for distance. But I'm going to define the real array right here, distance. Distance, where am I? And this is an array. How big this array? Of size. And the machine knows what size is because it's predefined up there. So now the machine takes 6 locations. Each one of them can hold a decimal value. And the first one is labeled as distance 0, and the last one distance 5. Starts with 0, ends with 1 less than the size. And we also need to calculate the average speed for each one of them. So let's define another one, double AVG speed, average speed. And that's also, let's say, the same size. So I have 2 arrays. One is going to have the distance, one is going to have the average speed. Now, as I said, size is predefined, so I don't have to send it anywhere because that's a constant value. It's written way on the top. So if I want to call the function here, I'm going to say, what did I call the function? Get data. I'm going to change that to capital D. So get data. And I'm going to send with me to that function, I'm going to send the array that's the distance. Remember, that's an array. I'm not returning anything because I can't return an array. So let's see what that get data looks like. Here's my get data. Down here, function get data. So I'm going to begin by saying it's a void because it doesn't return anything. Get data. It requires an array, double decimal values. I'm going to call the array, I don't know, list. Anything you want to call it. Now, curly bracket to begin, curly bracket to close it. Void get data. Oh, yeah, because right here on the top, remember we were talking about if it's, so this does not return anything. That's a void. Because we were saying earlier, you can return a double, you can return an integer value, you can return a character, but you can't return an array. So for an array, you have to use a void. So now let's see. Cout. So this one is going to return what? Cout. The distance traveled after every 10 seconds. Let's say enter maybe. Enter the distance traveled after 10 seconds. So that's the statement that's going to show up on the top. And maybe I'll go next line /n to go to the next line and semicolon to terminate that one. And that statement is done. Now I need to set up a loop to say enter the distance traveled after 0 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So I'll set up a counter here, int, C for counter, that's good enough. Set the counter equal to 0. We said we're going to do how many? Up to 6 values. We said, okay, so C is less than the size, and the machine should know what size is. C++. The problem with that, this is going to go as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so forth. Oh, I know why it's giving me an error here, because as usual, I forgot using namespace. Using namespace std. Okay, I should be fine now. The cout should. So I got to set up a loop here. But I want it to be user-friendly. Tell the user, enter the distance traveled after 0 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, so they know what I'm talking about. So here we go, cout, enter, total distance traveled, total distance traveled at 0 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So instead of doing that, I'm going to use the index here, which is C. But if I use C, it's going to say 0 second, 1 second, 2 second. I want it every 10 second. So it's C times 10. Go away. So here's C times 10. So 0 times 10 is 0. 1 times 10 is 10 seconds. 2 times 10, 20 seconds. So you multiply that by 10 to make it every 10 seconds. So the word seconds will show up. And the machine should wait for me there till I read it, cn the value. And that value is going to go into the array, and I call this array list. Remember, the array in the function is called list. So I got to tell them where to put it. In list, did I use uppercase, lowercase? List of C. So the first one goes in location 0, the second one location 1, location 2, location 3, location 4. And the reason I'm getting a syntax error here with C, because that's defined inside the loop, and the loop only executes one statement. That's this one. So really what I should do, curly bracket here. And now that C will be okay. And let's say cout, go to the next line, and L. And close that one. Now the C will be okay. Or I can define INTC on the top there, and that'll be nice. Tab. Tab. Okay. So for that for statement, I'm doing all these. I'm saying I want you to enter the distance, the total distance traveled at 0 seconds, and you type that, and that goes in location 0. At 10 seconds, you type that, it goes in location 1. At 20 seconds, goes in location 2, and so forth, till you're done with that. So this should load that. So here's what's going to happen when we call this method. When we call this method, notice we never specified a size for this array. So what the machine is going to do is actually going to go get data, distance. Distance is an array of size 6, so it's going to make this one size 6. And when we return from that, all these numbers will be brought back to distance. Whatever numbers you put in list going to be brought back and dropped into the array distance. So that should do it. If you want to see that to see if it's really working, let's do this. Cout, and I'll delete that after. Distance, I just take one of them. 5, the last one. Show me what's in distance 5. and L. Let's see if it's going to work. File save and run. The problem with that, every time you run it, you have to upload the data. Where is run? Oh, right here, I guess. You got to upload the data. Really, it's easier to read it from a file, but on this machine, I can't really create a file because the machine doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the school, so I need to fix that later. Get a different machine, and I'll show you how to use file. Okay. So let's see, it says, enter the distance traveled after every 10 seconds. So the first one, it says, enter the distance traveled after 0 seconds. Let's say that's 0. After 10 seconds, 18.5. After 20 seconds, 27.3. After 30 seconds, 38. After 40 seconds, 52.5. And after 50 seconds, 60.4. So when I said print the last one, I should see 60.4. Here is a 60.4. So I know the values are coming back, because when I asked the machine to print what's in that array at location 5, it showed me 60.4, and that's location 5. So it did work. Now we need to calculate the average. So let's do a method to calculate average speed, or function to calculate average speed. So right here, function to find average speed. Again, this function is not going to return anything, but it's going to put that in an array. So void, I think I decided to call it AVG average. We'll call it average. That's the name of the function. And this one expects an array from me of double. And I'm going to call the array, I called it in the previous one list. So maybe I'll call this, I don't know, array A. That has the array. That will have all the distance. I also want to return with me the speed. Now I want to put the average speed. There's an array called AVG speed. See that one? So I need another array, comma, double, S. So two arrays. One is going to be, I'm going to call it D for distance, lowercase d for distance, and I'm going to call that S for speed. That's fine. So here I got to go to the top and tell the machine void, and we call this average. It's going to expect two arrays, double, X, that's an array. Doesn't matter what you give it for a name, double. Y, it's an array. It just tells them there's just two arrays. The name of that doesn't matter. X and Y, it means nothing. Put a semicolon to indicate that. So when I call that in the main function, when I go to call that, I'm going to be sending the distance with me, and I'm going to be sending the average speed. So let's see. Here we go. Let's call it average. So I'm sending the distance. That's the first array that has all the distances. And the second one, the second array is AVG speed. I'm sending 2 arrays. So the distance will go now, the value will be dropped in D, and the average speed, which has nothing, is going to be put in S for speed. So now let's calculate the average speed. Let's set up a loop here. Curly bracket to open it, curly bracket to close it. For I and T, I'll use index, whatever you want to call it, set it equal to 0. Index is less than the size. I think I have to be size minus 1 here, because to calculate the speed for the next one, you need to go from here to there. So you can't go to 5, because to go to 5, you got to take from 5 to 6. There is no 6. So it has to be size minus 1. Index plus plus. Increment the index by 1. And the average speed, so that's location S, S of index. So the speed for 0, the average speed for 0 is going to take the distance from 10 to 0, the difference between them over the time, which is 10 seconds. So it's going to equal the distance in location index plus 1. I should use parentheses order of operation here. The distance, take the difference between the two distances, minus the distance of index. And you divide them by 10 seconds. Because the interval is always going to be 10. So when you go to speed 1, it's going to take the distance from 2 minus the distance from 1, divide them by 10. And if you do that, that will calculate all of them. Calculate all the speeds. So for speed, really, there is no, the last one is not going to have a value in it. So if you want it, you can shrink the average speed to size minus 1. Because you know you're not going all the way to that. And that should be okay. So that should calculate now the average speed for me. When I come back again, when you call this one, what's in distance, which is all the distances, there's no speed blank, they're going to be dropped here. D will have that, speed will have blank in it. This will calculate all the average speeds. And when we're done with that, what's in D is going to go back to distance. And what's in S is going to go back to speed. Now, we got that. So now I have to go through the program and see which one has the largest speed, which one has the least speed. So I don't know if you want to list all the speeds for each one of them. If you want to do a function that will print the value, let's do a print function here. Function to print values. So again, if you're going to print the values, you're not really returning anything, so it's void. We'll call this function print. or display and expects from me double. It's an array A. Array A, whatever you want to call it, that array. Really, that's going to be the distance traveled. And I'll call them X and Y. Double X is an array, just to be different. And double Y, which is an array. Curly bracket to open it. Excuse me. Curly bracket to close it. Let's do cout. And before we do anything, let's make it print nice and neat. Set width to 7. That'll give me extra spaces. Write the word time on the top. I want to have a header for that table. Set width to 20. Write distance traveled. That's the header again, traveled. Set width to 10. Where am I looking? Yep, set width to 10. And for this, we're going to write average speed. Average speed per 10 seconds. And go to the next line. So this is just a header. It's not going to print any value. Now, if you want to show the values, here we go. So for the first value, we can say cout, and we can use the same set width to 5. Then print 0, because the first time is really a 0 time, so I'll just put 0 here. Set width to 14. We'll see if these numbers work out. And that's going to be the distance. So that's an array X. X of 0. That's the distance, X of 0. Okay. Set width to 6. Average speed let's see, what am I printing? Distance traveled, average speed. Six probably wouldn't do it there. I'm just trying to count here quickly. No, you know what? This one is not going to have, it's going to be a small number. So maybe I'll make that one just spaces. So it's going to make the width of that, which is really space here, just to line them up. Then we go set width to 10. For the first one, there was no average speed. For 0, there's no average speed. And write 0. Then go to the next line. That's for the 0 time. When you hit the 0, the distance is 0, the time is 0, everything is 0, nothing there. Now let's do the actual printing. Once you hit the 10 seconds, the 20 seconds, then you can do it. So set up a loop here for I and t. I'll use I for index, set it equal to 1. Index less than the size. Index plus plus, or I plus plus. I use index and, yeah, I use index and I. I meant to say my index is I, then I wrote index and I. I just don't want to write the whole word index. Now this will print the rest of them. So let's make sure this is nice. See out. Set width to 5, just like the other ones. Let's do the index I, but you're going to multiply it by 10 because you're going to say 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Set width to 14. That's the distance. And that's in location X of I. Set width to 6. That's a space. Again, I'm going to put a space between them. Set width to 10. And now I'm going to print the Y value. And that's Y. But here is going to be index minus 1. Because in location 0, oh, I'm missing parentheses here. And we go next line. I think that should do it. Expected something. Set width I times 10, set width 14, xi, set width to 6, this one, set width to 8, 10, this one, and L. Oh, I have an extra parentheses here. Okay. So that should do it. So let's go back to the top. And let's print that. Let's tell the machine we have a print function, void print, and this function expects 2 values from me, double A, which is an array, comma, double another array, whatever name you want to give it. That's just to let them know that's what you're doing there. Take 2 blocks and set them aside. So let's call that here print distance comma, AVG speed. Distance and average speed. That will print them. What I should have done to make sure everything is nice as usual, let's do this cout fixed show point set precision. I'll do 3 here. I don't want you to think always 2. It could be any number you want it to be. So now I need to write 2 more functions, one to find the maximum speed, one to find the minimum speed. So we have to go through the array and find the maximum and the minimum. So let's do another function here. And again, I can put the function anywhere. I'm running out of space on the bottom. Maybe I'll put it here so I don't have to keep flipping back and forth, scrolling down. Function to find maximum speed. And we'll do one to find minimum. So this function will return the maximum speed, which is a decimal value. So here when you call that, there's going to be a double max, and it's going to expect an array from me, double array. We're going to take the speed and find which one has the largest value. So double max, because I didn't define max, equals, let's call the maximum function, and let's send the speed or average speed. Send the array with the average speed. So I don't want, just not to get confused, maximum, we'll call it maximum. So that's the max function. Okay. So where's my max function? I start here, so let me begin that. Double max expects an array of double, and double what? Let's give it a name. I don't know, G. Anything you want to give it for a name, doesn't really matter. There we go. So we're going to begin double. We'll take a dummy variable, temp for temporary. We're going to make it equal to the value of G of 0, the first value that you have there. The first value. Again, when you call this the average AVG, the word S is missing now. Notice this average speed now will be dropped into array G. G will have all the speeds that we had here. So we're saying let the temporary one, temp or answer, instead of temp, let's call it answer, has the speed and location 0. And now set up a loop to go through it for I and t, integer value, whatever you want to use, what letter, let's see, j equals to 1, j less than size minus 1. Remember that our array goes one less than the other one. J plus plus. That's my index. I'm using J for index. Tell the machine to look if the value in G of J If that number is less than the answer, that means the next number is lower than the first number, then we need to swap them. If that's the case, then answer equals G of J. So my answer, my minimum value, isn't what's in location 0. If 1 is lower than 0, swap them. Let the answer be location 1. If 2 is less than 1, let that. So when you're done with that, you need to return the answer. And that'll give you the minimum value. And I can do the same thing, copy this and get the maximum as the maximum value. I can copy the same thing, get the minimum value. Minimum. So we'll call this min. And the only difference is if it's greater than. If location G is bigger than the answer, oh no, actually this should be less than. That's the minimum. This should be greater than. We're looking for the maximum value. That should be greater than, this should be less than. Because the top one, we're looking for the bigger number. If location 1 is bigger than the answer, let location 1 be the answer. This one, if location 1 is less than the answer, let location 1 be the answer. That's the minimum, that's the maximum. So another one here. Double. Min. Double. I didn't give it a name for that array. Yeah, I forgot semicolon here. Notice actually I didn't have the letter X here used, and I think they said that's okay with this program. Let's see if that's the case, if you don't give them names. So double minimum equals min average speed. This is taking a long time, this program. I'm done now. I just got to print the minimum, maximum in the main program, and that's it. So see out after you finish printing all these, after you do the print statement, and you calculate these two numbers, we're going to print them. See out, that's in the main program. Hopefully I'm in the main. My eyes are cross-eyed now. Maximum average speed and let's print the word maximum, or give me that maximum speed. And go to the next line. And we can copy that and paste it for the minimum. This is minimum this is minimum. And I think that's it. And again, I don't think you need to specify here the name. I think just let them know it's an array. I forgot that part. You don't have to. There's nothing wrong with having it there, but you don't need to give it a name. Worry about what name to use. Just says it's going to expect an array from me. Expect an array, but you don't have to give it a name. Let's see if this is going to work. Okay, let me enter the values and let's see if it's going to give me that. So the distance at 0 second is 0 distance. At 10 seconds, I don't know, 15.7, 28.9 meters, 37.4, 56.8. At 50 seconds, 67.2. And there's my output, the distance traveled and the average speed per 10 seconds. The maximum average speed was 1.94. You can see that here. And the minimum speed was 0.850. Notice we do not count the speed there because we didn't calculate anything here. We told the machine 3 decimal places, set precision to 3. You say, how come it's not 3? Because there's no decimal. These are integer values. So that program did its job. The only thing I probably would have done differently, take average speed instead of per 10 second, take the per 10 out. Will look nicer. That's enough.